The meandering stream of Hurricane Creek flows peacefully near what is today the city of Bryant, Arkansas. But 150 years ago, the land near these banks was anything but peaceful. A civil war split this country between Free State and Slave State. The Union had captured Little Rock. Food and other physical comforts were hard to come by, and both sides ravaged the land to find such. One landowner tells what her family endured during these times.
I am Mrs. O. M. Mashburn. I was born in Georgia and moved to Arkansas in 1856. My husband had a home in Arkansas in Saline County. My little children, my brother Tom Ball, my husband and I made a happy home there. When the Federals came to Little Rock, the raiding started in Saline County. We had hogs, we had cattle, sheep, horses. They came and took all of it. They even took the cloth off of our looms. They took all of our clothing, quilts. Only thing we had left was what we had on our backs. It was dreadful. My husband and my brother Tom Ball joined the Confederacy. They went all through the war safely. My husband was home on furlough one time, and the Federals had found out from somebody that they thought we had money. They came to the house, took everything that we had, burnt the house, and then cursed us for trying to put it out the fire they had started. They took my husband's bridle reins and hung him, leaving him half dead. The only battlefield that I ever went to was here at Hunter's Cross on Hurricane Creek. Oh, my husband and my brother Tom went through that war safely, but these poor soldiers that are dead and dying, they're just laying in heaps and piles everywhere. And the memory of this moaning and groaning of the wounded and the dying will be with me forever.
October the 23rd, 1864. We are at Hunter's Crossing, where the Battle of Hurricane Creek, or the Battle of Hunter's Crossing, was fought. On that day, Colonel Logan's 11th Cavalry of the Confederate States of America had staged themselves along the banks of the Hurricane Creek, awaiting an ambush for the 7th Corps troops of the Union Army coming back from Princeton. As the troops of the 7th Corps approached Hurricane Creek area, Colonel Logan's group was waiting. The battle went on and drug out throughout the area of the creek and up into the area around the Hunter's farm.
Struggles ended now and peace smiles on our land. And though we've yielded, we have proved ourselves a faithful band. We fought them wrong, we fought them well, we fought them night and day, and bravely struggled for our rights while wearing of the gray. And now that we have ceased the fight and pledged our sacred word, that we against the Union might no more draw the sword, we despite the sneers of those who never smelt the fray, that we've a manly, honest right to wear another gray. Our cause is lost no more, we fight against overwhelming power. All weary are our limbs and drenched with many a battle shower. We've had would rest for want of strength, we yield them up the day, and lower the flag so proudly borne while wearing of the gray. Defeat is not dishonor, no of honor not be reft. We should thank God that in our breast this priceless boon is left. And though we weep, 'tis for those braves who stood in proud array beneath our flag and nobly died while wearing of the gray. When in the ranks of war we stood and faced the deadly hail, our simple suits of gray composed our only coats of mail.
After it was all done, those 28 men died here, 11 were wounded, and 1 was captured. The Union forces went back to their headquarters in Little Rock, which was under Union control. The ladies of the Bryant Methodist Church came out, took care of the wounded, loaded up the dead, and brought them back to now the Bryant Cemetery there on Reynolds Road. Now they are forever in tombs as an unknown soldier of the Confederate War.
And of those awful hours that marked the bloody battle day, in memory we will still be seen a wearing of the gray. Ooh, should we reach that glorious place where waits a sparkling crown for everyone who for the right his soldier life laid down. God grant to us the privilege upon that happy day of clasping hands with those who fell wearing of the gray.
Come on, children. Let me go show you where we buried the dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Children, this is where the soldiers from the battlefield are buried. The women knew it was their Christian duty to get those boys up and in a grave. This was the Methodist Church Cemetery, the old church, and this is where we committed their bodies to God.
Augustus A. Crawford, born 1838, died 1904. Company D, 11th Arkansas Infantry, Captain in the Confederate Army. Samuel Magby, born 1823, died 1884. Crabtree's 46th Arkansas Cavalry, Confederate Army. Kennedy Hall, born 1831, died 1898. Company F, 11th Arkansas Infantry, private in the Confederate Army. B.J. Martin, born 1827, died 1913, member of the Confederate Army. Wiley Forsythe, born 1848, died 1930, served in the Confederate Army. Memorial marker for Robert C. Ulmer, born 1839, died 1862. Company B, 25th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. James V. Ulmer, memorial marker, born 1830, died 1863. Company D, 39th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. Benjamin Franklin Sally, born 1828, died 1908. Company I, 2nd Alabama Cavalry, Confederate Army.
My name is Dr. Corn Reed. I was born Christmas Eve, 1838, in Warren County, Tennessee, which is between Chattanooga and Nashville. I moved to Arkansas when I was 21 years old and lived with the Pelton family. I was also a physician during that time in Beavers Township. After the Great Civil War started, I decided to join the Confederate cause and enlisted on August 2nd, 1861, and joined in as a private in Company C of the Arkansas Cavalry. I was stationed at Pittman's Ferry, where I became ill after a while and was given a furlough to go home and recuperate. After I recuperated, I headed back in to enlist with the Arkansas Cavalry 3rd Division and joined them and fought in the Battle of Corinth. At Corinth, I was wounded in the head, but it was not a severe wound, so I was still able to fight. I fought throughout the South in numerous battles. Some of those include Holly Springs, Thompson Station, Franklin, the Tullahoma Campaign, Chickamauga, the Knoxville Siege, the Atlanta Campaign, Flat Shoals, Browns Mill, Strawberry Plains, the Savannah Campaign, and the Carolinas Campaign. I ended my military career being paroled from duty on May 5th, 1865 in Chester, South Carolina. After leaving the military, I returned to Arkansas, where I became a teacher and continued to be a physician. While in Saline County, I met my first wife, Nanny. Nanny and I decided to give some land for a school in the Nuna community. The Nuna community was just outside of Sardis, off the Baxter Trail. After my first marriage ended, I lived in Nuna with the Ball family and continued to work as a physician. In April of 1894, I remarried to a lovely lady named Ida Frances Sally. Ida was much younger than I, but we loved each other and had 2 children. Our daughter, named Yura, was born in 1895, and John, our son, was born in 1897. I purchased a 110-acre farm in Sardis to raise our children and live out the rest of my life. With Ada's help, we raised Yura and John there in Sardis, and I left this earth on April 20th, 1910.
Corin Reed, born 1839, died 1910. Company C, 3rd Arkansas Cavalry, Confederate Army. Lloyd A. Rowland, born 1841, died 1916. Served in the Confederate Army. James Edelman, member of the Confederate Army, husband of Drusilla Edelman, born 1840, died 1923.
And on those awful hours that marked the bloody battle day, in memory we will still be seen wearing of the gray. Ooh, should we reach that glorious place where waits a sparkling crown for everyone who for the right his soldier life laid down. God grant to us the privilege upon that happy day of clasping hands with those who fell wearing of the gray.
Charles M. Bagby, born 1843, died 1920. Company H, 19th Mississippi Infantry, Confederate Army. J. W. Stubbs, born 1839, died 1912. Served in the Confederate Army. John W. Bass, born 1844, died 1923. Company C, 12th Tennessee Cavalry, Confederate Army. James R. Harrison, born 1843, died 1923. Company B, 11th Arkansas Infantry, and Company A, 11th and 17th Arkansas Consolidated Infantry, Confederate Army. John W. Custer, born 1828, died 1903. Company D, 19th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. John Judd Elrod, born 1838, died 1928. Company H, 1st Arkansas Cavalry, Monroe's Regiment, Confederate Army. Dr. J. E. Hurst, born 1842, died 1913. 14th South Carolina Infantry, Confederate Army. A. N. Sanders, born 1827, died 1912, member of the Confederate Army. A. R. Harris, born 1822, died 1902, member of the Confederate Army. Malloy Copeland Shepard, born 1841, died 1903, Company A, 11th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. Memorial marker for William T. Baldridge, born 1837, died 1909, Company D, 39th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. Ransom Joseph Fields, born 1843, died 1915, member of the Confederate Army. H. A. Sheridan, born 1847, died 1924, Company H, 34th Georgia Infantry, Confederate Army. Luke Aaron Coppock, born 1846, died 1901, Company H, 11th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army. Robert W. Claiborne, born 1822, died 1896, 6th North Carolina Regiment, 43rd Infantry, Confederate Army. James W. Hogue, born 1839, died 1862, Company D, 9th Arkansas Infantry, Confederate Army.
My name is James W. Hogue. I was born on the 19th of February, 1839, in Marshall County, Tennessee. I was the son of Hiram Hogue and Elizabeth Betsy Billington Hogue. I was a very active young man and engaged in all types of the typical events of a young man growing up on a farm. When I was very young, my father, Hiram, decided that he was going to leave Tennessee and go to Arkansas. So the Hiram Hogue family sold their land in 1841 and soon after headed for Arkansas by wagon train. The wagons were pulled by oxen. Around 1848, the Hiram Hogue family arrived in Arkansas and settled near the old Lost and Hurricane Creeks in Saline County. Hiram's brother Ezekiel had left for Arkansas in 1839, so Hiram joined his brother and his family. I helped my father with the chores and also loved to go hunting with the other members of the family as I grew. The woods were full of all kinds of game during this period of time. There was also plenty of fish in this area. The land where my father settled was between the Saline River on the west and Hurricane and Lost Creeks on the east. We went to church on Sunday and we attended the old Lost Creek Society meeting house. This meeting house was located on what later became the Saline and Grant County line. It later became affiliated with the Methodist Episcopal Church South. Other families in the area that attended this church were the William Capels, the James T. Poes, Thomas Tulls, and others. I became interested in William Capel's daughter, Sarah Lucretia Capel. I'd known her for many years, and in fact we were kin. They had traveled together from Tennessee to Arkansas with us. So I began to court, as the term was called, and in frontier days it was not uncommon for cousins to marry. James W. and Lucretia, we began to think about marriage. I decided to purchase 2 acres of land from John A. and Mary Fuel for $3 on the 26th of November, 1858. The land transaction took place at the residence of Tom Tull. The land was located in the northwest corner of Section 25, Township 3 South, Range 14, and then it was Saline County, today it's Grant. It's recorded in the Grant County Deed Book, A, page 182 to 183. This was DeKalb Township. It's now located near Tull city limits. I was beginning to plan the marriage, and I knew I had to have a good place to live for my wife. We were married on the 27th of February, 1859, at the home of Lucretia's father, William Capel. And the man that married us was the county judge, Saline County Judge James T. Poe, and he was also a justice of the peace. We lived in Calvert Township, Saline County, Arkansas, and I was continuing trying to make a living for my wife. My father, Hiram, had been born in York County, South Carolina in 1815, and there were many relatives left behind there. News soon spread to Saline County, Arkansas, that the southern states might soon break away from the Union, and a civil war would begin. I learned from Sarah that she was pregnant. On the 15th of January, 1860, a son was born. He was named Samuel A. Hogue, but he died on the 10th of March, 1860. We continued to work on the farm, and Sarah became pregnant with the second son. He was born on the 20th of April, 1861. and his name was Willis Randolph Hogue. That date was pretty important because he was born just 8 days after the Civil War had begun. I soon realized that I would have to join the Army. According to different ones, they were forming a regiment in Pine Bluff. So I left the area where I lived and made it to Pine Bluff to enlist. My first cousin was John Alexander Hogue. He was the son of my uncle Benny Hogue of Monticello. He had enlisted in Company D, the 9th Arkansas Infantry, and so I did as well. Sarah stayed at home and took care of our young son, and I visited Sarah from time to time. I made it back. The unit went over the Mississippi, and we were in the Battle of Corinth, and I decided to get back home, and I became sick crossing either the Arkansas River or the Mississippi River, and when I got home I was running a fever, and I died on October the 16th of 1862. The problem was that Sarah was pregnant with our third son, and after I died in October, she gave birth on the 7th of December 1862 to our third son, James Harvey Hiram Hogue. There is a marker in Bryant Cemetery where my wife Sarah was laid to rest in 1918 when she died. So my marker is right next to Sarah's, and she lived a long life and died in 1918. Here's a picture of my wife Sarah and her marker in the Bryant Cemetery.
Okay, yeah, hang on.
Next to her is her second-born son, Willis Randolph Hogue, and he died on July the 5th, 1943. And that about sums up my life.
William Robert Bagby, born 1840, died 1901. Company H, 19th Mississippi Infantry, Confederate Army. James M. Pryor, born 1821, died 1902. Served in the Confederate Army.